2023 has been a solid year for gaming so far. There's been a handful of really good games that have come out, and more highly anticipated games are on the way as we head into the summer and into the second half of the year. There's also games that have been out for a while now that have finally found their footing and are coming out with more content on a consistent basis. And those games include Halo Infinite and Battlefield 2042. Despite rough beginnings for both of these games, they seem to be getting more praise now than when they were originally released. There were tons of issues between the game design, the content, the lack of it, the gameplay, and a handful of other issues. But to me, the biggest issue I had with those games comes from the fact that they were not living up to the live service models that they set up for themselves. Battlefield 2042 and Halo Infinite have been out for about a year and a half now, and both games finally have enough content to bring players back. The thing is, though, I don't really care at this point. It took too long. My interest is in other games now. There's been plenty of complaining about battle passes and pay-to-win models and criticism of what kind of content is being released in games with the live service today. And I'm not going to touch on that stuff in today's video. I'm going to take it from a different angle. So let's talk about the biggest issue with live service in gaming. We live in a world today where people are constantly looking for new things. People have short attention spans and they always want the newest and shiniest things, and this is the case in most industries, but it's really struck hard with gaming over recent years. I personally think most of the blame belongs to game companies. I remember growing up playing Call of Duty, specifically the first couple of Modern Warfare games and the first couple of games in the Black Ops series, back when gamers would play the hell out of a game, all of its modes, all of its maps, use the same guns, we'd prestige and, reset and do everything again, time and time again. And we would wait for map packs to drop every couple of months, and we would continue to play nonstop while eagerly awaiting the next game in the series. The hype was always really big when waiting for that next game, but that doesn't mean we stopped playing the current edition in the series. We had more patience back then. But companies relied on pumping out new games for franchises like COD, Halo, and Battlefield every year or every few years depending on the game. The industry is huge today. Multiple consoles, platforms, and companies means new games and content basically every single week. And with so many options out there, gamers have turned into iPhone users. They want a new game as quickly as people want the next iPhone. So when the live service model was first introduced to multiplayer games, I was actually excited, to admit. The way DICE talked about how they would do it during the days of Battlefield 1 and especially Battlefield 5 was pretty cool. Battlefield 1 content drops were amazing. They had themes, new maps, weapons, factions, and challenges. Battlefield 1 was kind of a mix of live service and the map pack days. It wasn't full-on live service like we got in Battlefield 5, but it was kind of the start of that transition on what they would build on going forward. Battlefield 5's live service was promoted to basically take us through World War II. Every week and month would add to whatever battle or part of the war they were focusing on. New challenges, maps, weapons, and whatnot. It was all added to this model as well. That game ended up being a disappointment, however, for many reasons, but the most disappointing issue was the developers not being able to keep up with all that they promised. And this was unfortunately the problem with 2042 as well. It's not that the developers couldn't keep up with the content, rather than there was no new content coming out. 2042 released on April 6, 2021. The game's first season did not come out until June 9th of the following year. Players had to wait 7 months for the first major content drop. Add that 7-month wait to the other issues with the game, like game design, bugs and glitches, and lack of features, and that was the perfect equation for a very pissed off fan base. I personally stopped playing before the game even got to Season 1. Live service is supposed to be about adding new content and fixing the occasional bug and glitch, right? Well, this game used live service to add features that were missing. Features that, are usually a part of a game for like the past 20 years or so, like scoreboards, leaderboards, and challenges. This game was so messed up that they couldn't even focus on adding new content. Many Battlefield fans were not happy with the overall game design, like with the operators and new gameplay elements, but that's a different discussion for a different video. People will never love that game, but it's a shame how much the game flopped at the beginning because now it's kinda good. It's at least somewhat fun to play because they keep adding content more often now. Season 2 dropped August 30th of 2022, just 2 months after the Season 1 update. Season 3 released on November 22nd, and right now we're in Season 4 that dropped on February 28th. So by now, There's a bunch of new operators, there's new guns, maps, challenges, and a whole lot more. But this brings me back to my original point. Does it really matter at this point? Why should I re-download this game and try to get back into it when I'm busy with other games? I'll be honest, right now I'm trying to finish up Hogwarts Legacy so I can move on to Jedi Survivor. My main multiplayer games right now include Rocket League, which, if you know me, that's a huge staple when I play games, and Modern Warfare 2, that's the multiplayer shooter I'm into right now. It's the newer game. And I always go back to a game like Rocket League because Epic Games has always done a great job of consistently coming out with new content for that game, almost as good as what they do with Fortnite. And I play that a bit from time to time as well. I'm on to new games at this point. I'm looking forward to even more games coming out later this year, like Starfield. Halo Infinite not only released around the same time as 2042 did, but it also shared a similar journey. Infinite's multiplayer had a surprise release on November 15th of 2021. The game did release with Season 1 right away, but hey, that season lasted until May 2nd of 2022. Halo fans and Battlefield fans had to wait almost the same amount of time for some kind of content update. At least Infinite came out with Season 1 right away. Season 2 was just as long, however, from May 3rd to November 8th. The third season did not come out then. A free winter update ended up being what came out next, and it offered a free 30-tier battle pass amongst other things, and I'll give them some respect for, free stuff and still coming out with something. The winter update ran until March. Season 3 did come out back on March 7th, and we're still in this season right now. It's going to last until June 27th. Now this season is the shortest one to come out, so kind of makes me wonder, is Halo Infinite finally finding its groove like Battlefield 2042, where content's going to come out on a more consistent basis and a little bit more quickly and not be, an every 6 or 7 month thing? But again, does it matter now? As much as I want to try it out again, I just can't convince myself to set aside time for a game like this. Like Battlefield, this game launched with a lot of missing features that pissed off players. Here's a list of some of the stuff that was missing from this game, and it caused a lot of drama. Co-op campaign, split screen as well, which eventually got canned, Forge mode, playable elites, leaderboards, and assassinations. Forge mode and co-op campaign literally came out a year after the release of the game. Both of these games botched their launches and took about a year to finally get their live service down pat. Now before I wrap up, I want to bring up Modern Warfare 2. Now this game is no way near the level of Battlefield and Halo, but it makes sense for me to bring it up since I've done some coverage of this game on the channel from time to time, and also the game has struggled a bit too coming out of the gate with its live service as well. It's honestly a trend at this point with games not providing quick live service. Modern Warfare 2 released on October 28th and the first season did not start until November 16th. We also technically had to wait until around that time for Warzone and DMZ to come out. Waiting a few weeks is a lot better than waiting literally 6 months for a season to come out like in the other 2 games I mentioned, but still. Season 2 ended up getting delayed an extra 2 weeks earlier this year. Season 3 just came out a couple of weeks ago. And again, at this point, the game is jam-packed with stuff to do and work for and play with. However, and maybe this is me being an unfair consumer, but I'm kind of over the game. I've hit burnout. I put a lot of time into this game. And here's some of my criticisms. It took a while to get brand new maps, not cookie cutter maps from Warzone and DMZ, that map. A lot of the game modes are from older games, nothing really new. It also took this game a while to come out with leaderboards, better UI, which still isn't that great, more challenges, and ranked play, which still hasn't totally fixed the skill-based matchmaking issues. And like I said, this game is nowhere near as bad and as frustrating as Battlefield and Halo, but I'm going to point out the live service flaws of this one too. And it's truly a shame to see how live service is negatively affecting the gaming industry, and it's both shocking and sad to see big-time companies like 343, Activision, and DICE struggle to make games that should be easily loved and be successful. This is what indie developers and small-time companies dream of, is having the manpower, the money, and the resources to be able to make games like this. Live service needs to be used as a guide and not as a crutch to lean on. Release a game with all of its features and with as little amount of bugs as possible. Live service should be used to provide a game with more content over time to extend its lifespan. Sure, some maintenance work should be done as well. It is a nice luxury to have these days, to where developers have the ability to patch a game after launch rather than, hey, what you got on the disc is what you got on the disc, like it was for many years before this point. But again, companies are using this as an excuse to release unfinished and unpolished games. So here's hoping these companies have learned their lessons with these last couple of games over the past few years. Gaming seems to be at its best for the first time in a while, and I really do hope to see this continue, but in order for that to happen, with live service games, especially multiplayer games, the use of this live service needs to change. It needs to be better. Well, thanks for watching. Like the video and subscribe for more. You can find me on Twitter and TikTok at analyzethis_YT. Thanks again for watching and take care.